Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. Well, I'm actually in Staten Island right now. This is a Staten Island courthouse. I'm just kidding. This isn't Staten Island. I'm actually in Austin, Texas. You should have seen your faces. I'm actually at the Texas State Capitol. This is a pretty cool building. I'm actually doing a little walk of Austin, Texas today. Very small walk. I'm only here visiting my brother. We're hanging out. We're getting food, catching up on old bro things. So just squeezing this in. My brother Silvio behind the camera. How's it going, Silvio?
Great.
Good, I like that enthusiasm, baby. But we're gonna do a quick walk here through downtown Austin, talk to you a little about the history of the town and of the state. Before we start, please, just go ahead and remember to check out the Patreon at some point. That's how I fund all these things. Also to subscribe, that helps a lot. And lastly, like the video. A little thumbs up, helps all the analytics, or so I'm told by all the tech heads who I'm not friends with. But anyways, I'm gonna get this walk started here in a second. I don't really know anything I'm missing, Sleo, to start?
What's that behind you?
Well, I guess I'll get into that once we start our walk, but I don't know. If you're ready to start walking, should we do this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. So what we just started at is the Texas State Capitol. Believe it or not, this is the biggest state capitol in the United States. 311 feet, pretty big. It was finished in 1888. It's pink granite, which is Texas pink, they call it. Mined locally here back in the day. So we're going to walk. This is all Congress. It's kind of like the main drag here of Austin. You're going to see a bunch of the businesses and history. Over here to the right, you can see the fence of the Texas Governor's Mansion, where Greg Abbott is currently residing, right over there in that corner. Say it's haunted, actually. The nephew of one of the governors actually committed suicide in there in the 1860s. A little dark, I know, sorry, but it's a fact. And they say it's haunted for that, but it's right over there. So that's where the Texas governor is required by law to live. So we're gonna keep moving here and cross here over on the left. Also, too, you have a monument here. This is important. A monument to the contributions of African Americans here in Texas, which are numerous. We'll talk about all of that here as we go as well. All of this Capitol area is like a whole campus of different monuments and walkways, so it's a pretty cool thing. So we're gonna keep walking across here. What's that?
What are you doing?
We're doing a video about Texas, about Austin.
About Austin?
Yeah.
Can I tell you something?
Sure.
Elon Musk is coming here with Tesla.
Sure.
Right? Well, I am the artificial intelligence of COVID-19 created by Elon Musk. Just so you know.
Your artificial intelligence?
I know it doesn't sound real, but it's real.
Thank you. Bye. All right, good way to start the video. It reminds me, keep Austin weird, right? There you go, that's the old saying here. Didn't think you were gonna learn that today, did you? Well, we're gonna cross Congress here. I'm sorry, we're gonna cross onto Congress and walk down Congress and probably encounter some more conspiracy theorists as we go, but So I was talking about the governor's mansion. You also have here the general land office here on the corner. It's a little further down. I'm not going to walk over there, but that office was actually where a man named William Sidney Porter used to work. William Sidney Porter, better known to the world as O. Henry. Pretty cool. He actually lived in New York briefly, wrote some cool stories. So we're going to walk down here and get onto Congress, baby. All right, so we're crossing here on 11th Street, and we're going to be heading down Congress. We'll probably turn onto 6th Street. But this was kind of the main drag here when of Austin, even early Austin. So a little history about Austin. Austin, Texas is actually one of the fastest growing cities in the country. It's the 11th most populated city in the country right now, which is crazy. So, it grew like 20%, 20 something percent from 2010 to 2020. You want to get me on this side so you can see all the stuff behind me. There we go, seamless, baby, look at that. So Austin's also home to lots of like tech companies. Dell kind of started here. IBM has a big campus here. She was just talking about Elon Musk bringing Tesla here. You have Whole Foods started here. Let's go this way. So here next to me, you have an old bakery. This bakery was actually built in 1876. Pretty cool. They actually had a balcony on top there. You can see the balcony with film. The guy was able to take pictures, of different parades and things. William McKinley actually was a parade that walked down this street. But it was little houses like this that existed on it in the 1800s when Congress was a big thoroughfare here in Austin. So I was saying that Austin Austin got its name 1839. It used to be called Waterloo, actually. And it was the pushing of a vice. So here's another history. A little history too about Texas. Texas used to be its own independent country. I bet you didn't know that. Texas actually declared its independence from, Mexico, right? It was actually used to be part of Mexico. 1836, March 2nd, 1836 is Texas Independence Day. It declared its independence March 2nd, 1836, and they needed a capital. And there was pushing between Houston and Austin. And the second president, the guy his last name was Lamar, actually pushed to put it here. He renamed this place Austin. It used to be called Waterloo. And then the following year, the following presidential term was a man named Sam Houston, who was actually the first president as well. He wanted it to be in Houston. That's a whole other thing, and I'll get into it. But it's called Austin for a man named Stephen Austin. Stephen Austin is often called the father of Texas, because he's the man who really kind of first settled this area. So what happened was, in the 1820s, his father, Moses Austin, went to Mexico to apply to be able to settle this area, right? Because the Mexicans had this, plot of land. They'd actually just gained independence from Spain. It was finished in 1821. So he went to Mexico. He applied to be able to take 300 families here. They granted it to him. The problem is he died. And on his deathbed, he charged his son, Stephen Austin, with the task of settling this area. So Stephen Austin says, all right, Dad, I'll do it. So he brings 300 families here into Texas and settles. It starts to take off, man. People start coming to Texas because there's just so much land here. So the Mexicans start looking and saying, oh, these guys are gonna take our land. So we gotta do something. So they put some stringent laws in place. We're talking like 1830, right? One of those laws was actually the outlaw of slavery, which a lot of the farmers here didn't want. So they're like, all right, this is crap. We gotta like fight back on this. This isn't, So they do, and it leads to like the Texan Revolution in 1835. Starting in 1835, you guys may remember the Alamo as a famous thing here in Texas. The Alamo was kind of one of the last stands. So what happened was the Mexicans came to a town known as Gonzales to take back a cannon they had given to the Texans to protect themselves against the Native Americans, right? So they gave them this cannon to protect themselves against the Native Americans. They said, no way, you're not taking this thing. In fact, there's a flag. The first Texan flag actually says, come and take it. And it's actually a cannon, and it's star, and it says, come and take it. And it's about that cannon. It was actually one of the first flags. You can still see that flag flying around. They actually are able to fight them off, but then they come back in more in force, and they go to the Alamo, where they, kill the people holding the Alamo, all the soldiers. And but the Alamo actually served a purpose. Not only was it a very tough stand by the Texan fighters, but it also gave them time. Was able to distract Santa Anna, who was the leader of the Mexican forces, and give the Texans time to declare their independence on March 2nd. Otherwise, those forces would have made it and actually crushed that delegation, they say. Oh yeah, here's the thing. Check this out. Get over here, Soyo, real quick. How you doing, by the way, Soyo? You doing all right?
Really well.
Great. And also, too, over here, you have Millet's Opera House down the street. All this stuff is pretty historic. I mean, Texas has obviously been here since like the, I guess 1820s, 1830s. Here is probably like the mid 1800s where things kind of started to pick up. And it wasn't until after the Civil War that things really started to pick up. In fact, that opera house you can see kind of down in the distance, Millet Opera House was built in the 1870s, an action opera house. And one of the people who performed there, opera house and like, shows and stuff, one of the people who performed there was Edwin Booth, famous New York actor, famous for his brother, who was John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Wrapping it all around, baby. So we're walking down Congress, a nice stroll. It's hot, right? So you're sweating. I'm sweating too, baby. It's hot. So we're just gonna walk this down to 6th, and we're gonna take a left on 6th. So another thing that Austin is famous for is its moon towers. There's actually one of the moon towers here. There's still a few that are up and kind of, up and around the town. They actually tore them down, but they were put up in the 1890s. And there's these actual big, kind of like 100-something feet towers that had a ton of light on top to kind of like mimic the light of the moon, to kind of light the town. This is the only town in the world with moon towers. All right, so another thing that this area is famous for is that, well, they say, I was telling you earlier about Keep Austin Weird. Background on how it came about was in the year 2000, a guy donated to one of his favorite radio stations, a librarian. And he actually, at the end, they asked him, why are you donating? He said, I don't know, it's Keep Austin Weird. And he realized that it was kind of a cool saying, and At the time, the town was booming and there were lots of people coming in. So he printed out like bumper stickers and it just kind of stuck. It has since gotten really popular and it went to Portland. Portland uses it. There's also the "Don't mess with Texas." That saying. That was my best George W. Bush impression. That's pretty good, right, Sarah? Don't mess with Texas. But anyways, it came from an anti-littering campaign. In the mid-'80s, in 1986, they debuted this anti-littering campaign during the Cotton Bowl, which was in the college football game, and Stevie Ray Vaughan was actually in the first commercial for it, where at the end of the commercial he says, "Don't mess with Texas." It just caught, and they made a bunch of those commercials. Kind of cool. They did a bunch with like athletes and everything, and it just kind of stuck. But it was for anti-littering, huh? Look at that. So it's telling you that this area is like a big tech hub. Dell started here, yeah. Dude, you're getting a Dell. You guys remember that guy? I guess that really puts my age down. It's like from early 2000s. That guy, you remember them, Silvio?
I do.
Dude, you're getting a Dell? He actually got fired from that job for buying pot. Did you know that? He made like 20-something commercials, but he got fired for buying pot. He's like a life coach now. So here you got the Paramount Theater. This is pretty cool. This is a Paramount Theater. This has been here since 1915. They redid it in the 1930s. But you got the whole, big thing there. It's kind of cool. Anyways, there's a lot of like tech hub. You have the Whole Foods was founded here in 1978. They just sold to Amazon for $13.7 billion in 2017. $13.4 billion. That's what they've sold for. So you can go there and buy your, baby carrots and know that your money's going to fund Jeff Bezos's penis rocket to space. That thing, you know what I'm talking about, right? That thing looks like a penis. Anyways, that's what he's wasting his money on. Hey, would it be too much, Jeff, to ask for like a museum? Huh? A museum or something? I don't know. Spend your $5 billion how you want, I guess. I don't know. Oh, over here, there's a pretty cool thing I want to show you. All right, so we're crossing the street here. We're crossing 7th. And over here on the right, you have a very famous statue here. This is Angelina Eberly. It's called the Savior of Austin. I almost got hit by that freaking car. Good Lord. People here don't know how to drive. I guess that's an American thing. That is not specific to any city. But this is Angelina Eberly. So this woman is next to a cannon because there was a thing called the Archives War. After the town of Austin is chosen to be the capital, there was actually a fight between this and Houston for being the capital. And a bunch of people from Houston were sent down here to take all the papers, to then move them back to Houston and make that the capital. And she lit the cannon, the town cannon, and fired it and woke everyone up, and they saw that everything was stolen and they chased after them. They got all the papers and brought them back. And Angelina Eberly saved the day. And today it's still the capital here in Austin. That was actually a dispute between these two big names in Texas history, Sam Houston, Maribel Lamar. We'll get into that. Anyways, here's the hideout. Pretty cool little improv theater. A little, pretty cool. Comedy. Yeah, no big deal. I do stand-up comedy too. Let's go.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here.
Don't worry about this lighting. We'll get out of it in 2 seconds. So now we're going to get here to 6th Street very soon. This is kind of like the party area of town. We'll see all that here in a second. But another thing too to keep in mind, they filmed lots of movies here in Austin, Texas. They filmed, Kill Bill Volume 1. They filmed Dazed and Confused, very famous movie, featuring a University of Texas Austin alumnus named Matthew McConaughey. He's got the, it's where the quote, all right, all right, all right, all right, comes from. And also the quote, that's what I like about high school girls. I keep getting older and they stay the same age. It's a kind of creepy statement, like a pedophile's personal motto, but we're gonna take a left here, show you this building too. This is kind of cool. It's called the Littlefield Building. This is named Littlefield Building after a man named George Washington Littlefield. Now, George Washington Littlefield is actually one of the fathers of University of Texas at Austin. So George Washington Littlefield moved to Texas, actually. Keep walking. He moved to Texas in 1850, kind of made a name for himself, made money, went into beef and things like that. He actually helped supply the Texas Rangers during the Civil War. But this is him here, Littlefield Building, George Washington Littlefield from Mississippi. Served in the Rangers, made his fortune ranching, driving cattle. You can read. but this is one of his buildings, a beautiful Beaux-Arts building. I don't know if you know Beaux-Arts, but it was very popular in the United States, turn of the 20th century. This is a really cool hotel, though. This right here is the Driscoll Hotel. This is another important person here in Texas. His name was Jesse Driscoll, another guy who made a fortune providing cattle and things for the Confederacy. Let's go this way. So this guy made a fortune off of Confederacy selling selling them cattle and things like that. Problem was, once the Civil War was over, those Confederate dollars that he was paid in weren't worth crap. So he lost all his money. But then he was able to build back up, and eventually he opened this hotel, and then he lost his fortune again and actually kind of died with a lot less money than he had before. But this is a beautiful hotel. Very nice. I stayed here actually for a bachelor party I came to in Austin. Yeah, I party a little bit, no big deal. So now we're walking down what they call Dirty Six. This is 6th Street, East 6th Street. And it'll take us all the way to, I-35, which is kind of the dividing line between East Austin and here in downtown. But you can see this whole area too at night gets crazy. They like rope it off. There's lots of people walking around, a lot of drunk people. You can actually go to like Voodoo Donuts here and, have a nice donut and watch people punch each other in the face and puke on the ground. Really nice, but it's actually pretty fun. A lot of live music here. They call Austin the live music capital of the world. This is actually the highest concentration of bars in any zip code in the United States, they say. More than even New Orleans. So there's people playing and there's windows, all kinds of, it's a Monday right now, so relax, all right, chill out. We're not gonna be getting hammered or anything. But all these things have their music on and things. Like that right now, you could hear it. And I'm probably gonna have to like bleep it out so we don't get a copyright strike. Let's go, let's get out of here. But yeah, Austin famous for South by Southwest, which was started in the 1980s because they were actually trying to start a festival here. A New York-based group was trying to start a festival here. It fell through, but the people they had contact here at the Austin Chronicle said, screw it, let's do it. So they did it, and they named it South by Southwest, kind of honoring North by Northwest, which is a movie by Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know if you guys know who this Alfred Hitchcock guy is, but you should keep your eyes on him. I think he's got big things in his future. Big time filmmaker. Also too, you have Austin City Limits, which is a very famous PBS show that was started in the mid-70s. It started in the mid-70s actually, and it's still running. It started with a man named Willie Nelson, very famous Austin regular. But yeah, they have all kinds of like live performances. It's really cool. Another person who performed here a lot was a man named Stevie Ray Vaughan. You guys know who Stevie Ray Vaughan is? He was in a band called Double Trouble. One of the best guitarists to ever live. He died at like 35 years old in a helicopter crash, pretty tragically. Cool story though, he was actually at a music festival, the Montrose Festival, and a man saw him playing the guitar and was like, yo, this guy's amazing. That man was David Bowie, and David Bowie had him play guitar on his Let's Dance album. Oh, that's the Let's Dance album. He actually played on the song Let's Dance. You guys know that song? Let's dance, ding, 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 ding. Put on those red shoes and dance the blues. Let's swing. All right, anyways. Yeah, no big deal. I play the guitar and sing a little bit. I don't know if it's obvious, but we're walking down East 6 here. Some celebrities live here in Austin too. I guess Sandra Bullock has like a restaurant in the other direction. I'm sure it's not cheap, it's called something like Walton and Fancy, I don't know, something like that. And then Matthew McConaughey actually got arrested here in 1999 for playing the bongos naked after celebrating a Texas Longhorns game. Kind of funny. Yeah, that's good old Matthew McConaughey. He's come a long way from playing the bongos naked. I guess that would make a really good Lincoln commercial. But yeah, that's also too, a lot of people went to University of Texas, like Owen Wilson, the Duplass brothers, Richard Linklater's done a lot of stuff here. He actually filmed some of Boyhood here. Ooh, baby, I'm sweating. All right, another thing too. Oh, another celebrity that lived here for a while is Lance Armstrong. You guys know he lived here, the cyclist guy. You guys know the Live Strong bracelets, remember those? Easy for him to say. He was all roided up. I could live strong too. That's messed up. But you can see a lot of these buildings here date back to like the second half of the 1800s because that's when Austin really started to take off. So the actual railway, the Houston, Texas Railway, passed through Austin in 1871, and that's when it started to pick up. And it kind of had one of its booms, and a lot of these buildings were built. More commercial districts sprouted up, and we're walking towards what's considered East Austin, which is on the other side of I-35. I'll talk about that when we get there. So I was also telling you about how O. Henry used to work here in Austin. He lived here when he was still William Sidney Porter. But he actually wrote about this serial killer who they say was America's first serial killer, who actually started here in Austin. That's quite a notch of honor to have, but his name was, they never actually caught him. But his nickname was the Servant Girl Annihilator. That was the nickname of the guy. That's a pretty crazy name. But it was actually coined by O. Henry. So O. Henry coins that term. And the Servant Girl Annihilator killed 8 people here in Austin, and then he just kind of disappeared. And they say, this is in the 1884, 1885, and they say that it's possible, one of the theories is that he actually ended up in, England as the Jack the Ripper. That's what they say. I guess we could cross over here. Also, too, I was talking about Sam Houston as a famous Texan. So Sam Houston, like I said, was sent over here to kind of take care of the Native American population. By Andrew Jackson, very famous for taking care of the natives. But famous name, Houston, right? All right, we're almost at I-35. I wanted to get there, and then we can finish the tour here very soon. But before we do that, I'll just tell you real quick also, a couple of things I just wanted to mention real quick is that if we'd stayed on Congress and continued south, outside when we left the Capitol and continued south, you would eventually pass the South Congress Bridge, which takes you over the Colorado River. Not that Colorado River, not the one with the Grand Canyon or whatever, but there at the bridge is actually the largest urban bat colony in the world. Every single night from March to October, like 1.5 million bats just fly out of there, like this crazy cloud of bats. Pretty cool. If you like bats, which most people don't, but they're pretty cool to see anyway. Also too, another thing to keep in mind is that Texas was an independent country. I think that's such a cool fact. It's kind of its own country for a few years. Declared its independence in 1836, was its own nation or country that Mexico did not recognize, but the United States eventually annexed. Texas kind of wanted to be a part of the United States, but the United States was like, and eventually in 1845 they said, all right. And that actually is what led to the actual Mexican-American War. All right, so we're actually walking over towards I-35 here, and this is kind of the divider between East Austin and over here downtown Austin. But it's important to keep in mind the roots of Texas and Austin. In fact, a lot of the founding families of Texas brought their slaves over. There's always been a lot of racist policy and things like that. Austin has actually been a little more, a little more, not anti-slavery, but a little bit less pro-slavery than other parts. For example, Sam Houston was actually ejected as governor for not allowing the county of Travis County and Austin to sign on and support the secession from the Union. He was the only county in all of Texas that didn't support secession, so he was booted as governor for that from the governor's mansion, which we saw earlier. But that being said, there has been lots of different problematic policies here. In fact, in 1928, to get around the idea of separate but equal institutions like different water fountains and bathrooms and things, one of the things they did was they actually just created a whole neighborhood where the only place where African Americans could stay, because that's the only place where the city services were open to them, because otherwise they would have no access to schools, no access to health care, no access to anything. So people were basically, segregated by just pretty much de facto segregation. Today, because that neighborhood has been so depressed by not just that, but also redlining, which came after FDR. I talk about this in other videos. I actually talk about this in my racism and slavery in New York video. Real pick-me-up, but there's very important information to know. Watch that one. Good stuff there. Sick plug, baby. But this was red line neighborhood. After they had put that plan into place in 1928, the city had put this plan into place, basically limiting African Americans' use of any services to this area. It was officially redlined in the 1930s. That kept all the wealth accrual down. That kept the neighborhood down for years. This highway was built in the mid-1900s, right through it, basically dividing it off. And today, because it's been so depressed, it's now being built up to then capitalize on all that depression and all of that, profit margin. And this is what happens in gentrification in lots of cities around the country, including New York, including places like Chicago. So it's kind of like the formula. You take the neighborhoods that were traditionally for minorities, Latin Americans, African Americans, and they're depressed, and you build them up and make all that money. So another little fact people forget is that Texas actually kind of resisted, even once the Civil War was lost. April, Robert E. Lee surrenders at Appomattox. It wasn't until June that federal troops were sent here to basically enforce the Emancipation Proclamation on June 19th here in Texas, in Galveston actually, and that's the holiday actually just recently made a federal holiday known as Juneteenth. Also Texas connection. But from here, we're going to jump to the end of the video, and we'll talk about a pretty cool place here in Austin. What do you think, sir? Should we go to the next spot?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Oh, look at that. I changed locations. It's movie magic. Now actually on Lady Bird Lake. This is part of what used to be called the Town Lake. It's about 416 acres of this area. It was actually created in 1960 to be a kind of a cooling area for the power plant here. Not the cleanest water, I wouldn't drink it. But in 1971, they began a movement to kind of beautify it. It was spearheaded by a woman named Claudia Alta Johnson, better known as Lady Bird Johnson. She was the first lady under Lyndon B. Johnson, who actually has a library here at University of Texas, which I'm sorry I couldn't visit and show you around. A lot of important things happened there, big things. There was a big shooting in 1966. A guy named Charles Whitman went to the top of the tower there and as a marksman, and he for the Marines, and he actually just shot a bunch of people. It was really tragic. Yeah, it's a little dark, sorry, but it happened, okay? I don't know what to tell you. There were some good things, too, at University of Texas, okay, like Sweat v. Painter, which was a court case, Supreme Court, went all the way to Supreme Court in 1950. It was a black man who wanted to enroll at the university's law school, and he was blocked, and took it to the Supreme Court, and it was found in favor of him because the facilities weren't separate but equal. And it was actually the predecessor to Brown versus Board of Education. So there's some good stuff that came out of there. Really cool campus. Wasn't able to visit it. A lot of stuff I wasn't able to show you, unfortunately. Didn't have time. I'm here visiting my brother, all right? So chill out. And I had my bathing suit on and sandals and stuff, and I was gonna try to get on the water on these paddle boards and show you my skills. A lot of upper body, a lot of core, baby. Didn't have time. We ate too many tamales at home, and we got sidetracked, okay? Sorry, I only gave you 45 minutes of good stuff. I wasn't able to give you 2 hours. All right, well, guys, before we go, please, I hope you enjoyed it. Really thank you for watching it this far as well. And, click the like button, the little thumbs up. Also subscribe, the little red thing. And, the Patreon, too. Check out the Patreon, the little link in the description thing. That's a big help, trying to grow this thing. And, travel all over the world. I'm rambling. All right, well, that's pretty much the video. We're here at Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas, baby. Keep it weird. All right, well, I gotta go. Thanks for watching. See y'all later.